going to get started. It's 3 o'clock. Now we have a feature poet today, Christine Hall. We're so excited about that. Yay! She's entering the room. Okay. Now the surprise today is that we have a brand spanking new Flatrock poetry feature poet anthology. And it's available on my website right now through Amazon, and I'll have more copies on the October reading, which is October 27th. So I'm going to read. Thank you so much to Christine for formatting it. She did a great job. It looks really good. And it's $10. So it's a good price, good value, good Christmas gift. So to start off, I'm going to read one of my poems from in here, but you get to choose which one it is. The first one is Worm Moon, and the second one is Of Islands and Planets. So, Worm Moon or Of Islands and Planets? Second one, you got it? Okay. Is Puerto Rico still in the dark? What's it like to be a territory, not a state? Asked Washington, D.C. People needing ice, electricity for their medical machines, at the very least, cut off from further aid. It took you so long to finally say it. From disparate sources, you were able to spit out the truth. You are moved by the sea, listening to waves upon your soul, trash from our lives waiting to be picked up on the shores of me in my depths, overwhelming, but the seashells mixed in make all the difference. See, the moon pulled us all here on her own, mothership to mothership of Earth. Now we've reached it. Now we've trashed it up. This is for small print. Okay. But get to the source of the moon, the waves, while we're still cleaning it all up. The sun. I probably should stop because I can't really see this very well. That's not very cool, but it's. Yeah, okay. Glasses for the rest of you. Hopefully it's will work. My apologies. Much better. But get to the source of the moon, the waves, while we're cleaning it all up. The soothing sounds of crashing on the sand once more, not trash. The oldest of shells we leave behind for children and the story to be told. We move into the waves now and know the kindnesses of the earth and moon in sync. We move with the waves like hula dancers, waving and moving to the oldest rhythms we can find. Moments of flower ephemera, solid petals of boldest reds, soft pinks of poetry, white flower crowns for the green stems, but for a moment they are with us in a these. Photograph them now. Cherish evermore. Is all of Puerto Rico in the dark? Is it an object, unworthy of citizens, worthy of rights? I was an object, as ephemeral as flowers, cherished as that, nurtured only along your lines. I nurture the flowers, watering each, tending towards health. I do not neglect across the board. I am an artifact collecting shells along the shore of my soul. Heaven preserve, and we fight for Puerto Rico, rich port, an object for retaining resources, rum, sugar fruit. If some of us are only objects to be prized and then ultimately rejected, do we not rush to save, to preserve? I'm knowing I'm not an object. Maybe I once was, going forward to preserve the best in life, the earth, and it is varied and wonderful people. It is scamming people, freaking people scamming for a buck, power over others. Enough. I prize the truth among all things. We nurture the best among us. We did not forget. It took you so long to finally say it. You're moved by the moon, the planets. Do not deny your mortality. The earth is a planet, not an object. Puerto Rico is an island, you say. It took you such a short time to say it. Things are much deeper than you let on, sir. We do not forget Mother Earth, ultimately. Thanks for the glasses. I couldn't have done that. All right, first up, Kajin? I'm sorry? Khadijah. There you go. Khadijah Anderson. Welcome.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. I'm from Los Angeles. I'm here visiting my son and my daughter-in-law. And tomorrow I'm going to my grandmother's family reunion in Jonesboro, Arkansas. So I'm excited to be here. I run a poetry series in LA called Poets and Allies for Resistance. It's a social justice themed series. So if you're ever in LA, we're on Facebook, Poets and Allies. It's easy to remember. Okay, I'm going to read this poem called Fascist Government, riffing off your poem. And there's a little TM after fascist government, trademark. So this is fascist government trademark. Fascist government. Open carefully. Push down on child-proof cap with palm of hand and turn cap counterclockwise. Don't squeeze or splash fascist government. Insert the measured amount, or to make life easier, try the pre-dosed fascist government pods for extra convenience. Try something pluggable to help continuously fill the air. Fascist government plugins automatically work without any extra effort, for results that last up to 45 days or longer. Fascist government is extremely effective and will stop things dead in their tracks. Remember, the primary ingredient in fascist government won't affect things you want to keep. Make sure the things you're about to treat are the ones you don't want. When using fascist government, be sure to treat only the crucial areas. This lets fascist government stop things at the source. After using fascist government, store in a dry area that's not too hot and not too cold, but just right. Okay, oh, and I'm sorry about reading on the poem, but I didn't know I was coming here. Yeah, I know, that's why. All right, I think I'll just do a little poem. I'm going to take you to the deserts of Southern California. Has anybody heard of Joshua Tree? Yeah. Oh, good. Okay, so this is a poem I wrote Joshua Tree a number of years ago. It's called Desert Lines. We hear the wind coming at us. A small cloud hangs in the naked blue sky. We climb sharp rocks to look out higher. Raven rustles its wings overhead. The wind rivers around boulders. We see the San Bernardino Mountains 80 miles away. Joshua Tree guards the silence. Coyote crosses near us and looks back. Mountains crumble to boulders, to rocks, to sand. A huge carp-shaped rock dreams of water. And I'll just do another short one. It has no title. It's sort of, if you see it on the page, it's just one big paragraph. Well, not very big. Sort of one small paragraph. And I just have to tell you before I start so you understand the context. I'm a Muslim. I know I don't look like one, but I am. So, and the word hijab is the Muslim headscarf that women wear. Okay. After taking my children to a park outside of Seattle, we had just gotten into the car when I heard loud yelling and commotion going on behind us. I asked my son, blue-eyed, blonde-haired throwback to Scandinavian relatives, what was that noise? He said, it's that car stopped behind us, Mom. I turned around and looked and saw a large tank-topped, bandana-wearing, baseball bat-wielding man with a bright red face coming up to our car, my brown-skinned, curly-haired daughter in the back seat watching out her window, and we all looked incredulously at this pasty white gorilla coming closer. As he approached the car, he screamed, "Get out of my country, raghead bitch!" And when I turned and looked at him in the face, he suddenly stopped, just like one of those cartoon characters stops mid-run before they fall off a cliff. I rolled my window down partway and screamed, "I'm from California!" and then sped off as he stared wide-eyed at the white-faced, blue-eyed woman he did not expect to see behind the hijab. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, thank you. That was amazing. Next we have Henry L. Jones.
I want to read this one. I was at a poetry event and the theme was wood, and I shared two other pieces, and this is one that I wanted to share. I love wood furniture, the tables here, and they're all cut. You ever see something or smell something, it triggers all these memories? And the most painful memory I had associated with wood was the remnants of a burned cross that the KKK had burned. And it triggered these wealth of emotions that I was just, I guess it triggered what the purpose of the cross was. And it's difficult to explain if you see something. I guess if you're Jewish and you see a swastika, but I've only seen pictures and heard of burned crosses. But then when I saw that remnant and I was told what it was, as an art, I'm a visual artist, the emotions and it was just overwhelming. You ever have something just felt so overwhelming? Well, this is one poem of many. And that night when we were doing wood, I said, well, I can't read that one because it'll put me in that state. It's called Layers of Truth. And I'm a tree lover, so I used to work for the Forestry Service and all that. Revealing the truth between the echoes of scream, wanting justice, climbing onto the pile, generations of pain. No bomb, just gasoline and matches. Burn away the past until nothing remains but an anthill, awaiting and signaling rain. Now hide because too much is being revealed to prying eyes. Who want redemption and answers, now coming forth between the branches of fire, stack bones and flesh to consume the mouths and melt the throats with heat. Stir them into a gel until nothing remains but their faint memories and silence. So vague the slithers of truth can be resembled like a torn page, a broken plate with tape or glue. Instead, we must accept the past and eat from that plate and comfort the lives of all the food that was served, exposed of what is embraced and left behind from this fire. Thank you.
That was so powerful. Thank you, Henry. All right, now we have Vinu. Welcome.
Thanks. Okay. So this is about trees. It's a work in progress. And fields with carrot topping and beautiful green bean stocking, crisp water from monsoon streams overflowing, and arum lilies like white doves popping, patched Frisians on kickweed grazing, the grass so green, the lives upon them a dreamscape painting. Sunbeams stroll and its spring shadow follows, tracing the maker's heavenly view. The colors, red and purple and yellow, their faces graced by the helium halo. The rhododendron blanket and the old shola, crying their harmonious reverence, their tune, frequency so fine, making a violin maker swoon. The bluebill, hearing the old tree's sad call, of memory so old but feels like last fall. Recounting interwoven and passionate affairs from perched on a branch, she feels his airy sway. Nature's philosopher, please take it away. He speaks of heaven and earth, of memory so old but feels like last fall. I was an artist in a funk band once. My knotted braids are the very branches you sit on now. My beating heart sinking deeper with every passing year. My roots seeking tunes from around the world, the beats that surround, the bass, an enigma that radiates Om. Each step a twist and a twirl as it seeps into the soil but looks for the sea. My veins, its purple glow, tracing ribbons in the earth below. Surrounding hexagonal crystals, lilac honey, plasma yellow finding its Cambrian chambers. The midnight sun, its turquoise rays and deep blue corona. The fantasy inlaid deep where the eye can't see. My struggles are not that most dare not know, knotted stories like lovers' tales, for the essence is as lovely as Bloomingdale's. Okay, so this one's about a mom and her love for her child. Okay. Oh, the light of the divine, you can feel it in your spine. Born with that halo, oh, that mellow yellow. As it seeks the nipple, temporarily a cripple. Oh, it's a son, you are my son. The radiant joy that flows in a mother with no repose. As he opens his first toy, his mama holds her hands up in reverence, overflowing with much joy. As he shapes the world with clay, she can feel his soul bound with gay. As the bell for the toddler tolls, his story slowly unfolds. With every year that passes, once a child, but now a power of the masses. The light that flowed within diminishes with every sin. Just yester, he was a jester. Now the world pins him as a pester. Scorned as an addict, the jury just passed the verdict. Like an animal he will roam, caged in iron bars for his home. Now his mother squeals with pain. As she steals from within, without realizing the sin, she feels that deep hollow and fills it with her sorrow. Now the divine light, it causes her such a fright. As she lays in her bed with the curtain shut tight, when the darkness casts its spell, she moves but feels like hell. She can hear that toll bell call in the shadow of the fall. Thanks.
Thank you. I love your detail and your visual imagery. That's kind of the visual imagery. We're done. Okay. Now we have Melissa Ford Thornton.
Tall to short, and everything in between, right? I'm from Redondo Beach, California. Yay, sister! And I don't like cold weather, so this first poem is called August, but it's kind of about this transitional time of year. So, there's been a shift, a tilting of the planet. Faulkner heard it, or rather saw it in the light. I taste it on my tongue, feel it when I run. There's been a shift as we turn with slightest reluctance toward autumn. So, nice and short. Okay, this one, Amy and I believe Kat both know that I lost my mom to suicide. But last year I had a really cool experience, serendipitous. The solar eclipse fell on what would have been her birthday. So I wrote this, and it's called Moment of Totality. My mother entered the world like a shooting star on a late summer night, hurling faster than the speed of light into the path of totality. Long after her death, the precise cosmic alignment of sun and earth and moon marked the date of her birth with sublime, celestial phenomenon, hailed by astronomers and poets alike as nature's greatest coincidence, a total eclipse of the sun. Alone with millions of others, I stood rooted to my insignificant spot on planet Earth. Moon shadow nibbled the sun into obscurity. Temperature dropped, birdsong paused. Blue-black light crept incrementally in upon me. Like a starseed, the child within reached for my mother's hand, a comfort long absent, for she is stardust and memory, energy and emotion that burned too hot and bright to survive Earth's gravity. Okay, one more, I'm sorry. Let's see. Physics and philosophies, photons and other superheroes. Naked eye scans the sky with wish-thinned hope, adjusts the philosopher's telescope to gather substance of things unseen, presence of intangibles. Where does our hope come from? Distant atoms bustle, spark, ignite, a lonely light, heaven's solitary messenger born in the hell-hot belly of a star. Solo flight of clarity, truth, consciousness, sight. travails long journeys far against all odds, hurdles, physics, and philosophies. Science scopes, tiny, elusive voyager, image fearfully unfolding to naked eye, where exhausted, intrepid time traveler quakes and dies. As philosopher stands in pulse-quickening, night-thickening silence and wishes upon a distant star, eyes shutter shut, single tear falls, convincing and transparent as a prayer.
That was beautiful and deep and inspiring. Thank you. Chance Chambers. Chance is going to be reading from the book, the anthology.
I'm thrilled about this book. I'm honored to be in these pages with so many wonderful poets, and thank you, Amy and Christine, for all your hard work. Isn't it just beautiful? I mean, you can't see it that well out there, but it really looks great. I'm going to read a selection, one of my poems from it, called Praying at the Battery. Back in the 90s, I don't remember how I ran across it, but on the internet, something about the Theorius Society, a religious group, and they believed that you could actually gather prayer energy in this device from like a mass of people, like a gathering, and use one person as a conduit to gather the energy into that device and then aim that device at like a trouble spot in the world, which I thought was a fascinating idea. I don't know how optimistic I am about how that works, but I thought it was fascinating. And this is called Praying at the Battery. There's an epigraph from the Theorius Society website. Qualifying to pray at the Battery can take literally years of practice and is a great skill. I'm having a little trouble seeing this myself. No, I'm good. Yeah. Saint Iggy took the last flight out of Memphis before New Madrid shook out a song about the sinkhole at the center of the Milky Way, how it swallows broken petal taverns like Pez candy, how it swallows all we need to forget, which is pretty much the same thing, Iggy says. But I remember everything, so I drive a rusty lime Ford Ranchero to the shoulder of I-40 where a column of transmission towers stretches into an electric dusk. After my arms tingle and my hairs wake, the vision remains. I see the face of a dispatched soul, pale and breathless. So I drive to the alien LZ on 28th Avenue, a strange cul-de-sac of green and grass. Nobody shows but a landscaper whose mower engine can't match the sound of a mother and father bedside and weeping. So I drive to Cave City, Kentucky, buy a prayer battery at a mile-long yard sale. It's empty, a follower of the Theorius tells me. You'll have to charge it. As I transmit into the radionic box the moments I want to purge, I feel my stepfather's hands around my neck, breaking the dark hallway dash for the light switch. So I drive to the edge of Reelfoot Lake and wait for a rapture wind to release me from the battery's charge, which is the same as waiting for nothing, because Nibiru is all my best intentions passing. And if the Mississippi bothers to flow backward again, it's to remind me an apocalypse is always one county away. So I mount the battery on a tripod on the Ranchero's bed. Like a spiritual Jeep gunner, I aim the antenna at Mars, the war-weary god who once reached opposition the same night I saw my first firefly of the season. I'm hoping for a relay, maybe a bounce to Europa, its ocean of hope beneath icy fractured restraint and filled with luminescent creatures I can't name. Then to Saturn, who returned to shove my soul into a rush hour street of doubt, but who also found my voice by shaking me from the inside. After that, comet hopping and a hitched ride on a Voyager, where my signal will mix with scenes and sounds from a world that always burns but still makes music. Maybe my transmission will pass a congregation of stars and bend light into the room where my stepfather hid, show his true face years before I would see it on my own. This is when I notice my lips moving with no sound, when I realize I'm praying at the battery, empty and dead. This is when I admit I have no idea where the sinkhole is in my sky, and it wouldn't matter if I did. Sinkholes have no time for me. This is when I text Iggy and tell him I remember everything, and it's a tangle of gasoline and honey spiked with the poetry of moonlighting doomsayers, fitful, mad poetry that falls from the sky like broken satellites. Thank you.
Brilliant. That was so brilliant. Outstanding. As always. Okay. L. Raymer.
Sorry. I promised myself that each time I did this, it would be easier and easier. It's not. It's not. That's okay. It's okay. We'll make it there one day. This first one is called Psychedelicate. So I was, okay. I crawled through the arch of wooden emotions, like a soul who knew which way to go. Snakes of energy slithering their way in each crack in the bark. Don't come searching, please. Each step, age found a way to my physical being. You won't believe the people, or the lack thereof, with pure intentions. Looking back, each footprint disappeared, the path looking back at me. A pebble readjusting my arch uncomfortably, like the Lego piece hearts I walked over obliviously. She or he thought they were alone on this trail, trudging on in my own world, similar to that of a tortoise with his shell. I didn't know where I was going, just Red Riding Hood trying to find her granny's house in the sky. Was she watching me, smiling in the rainbow droplets, or eyes glazed with angst she came to have met? I met a boy there, weeping in the middle, crying for his soul to love. Excuse me, molecules of beauty. Instead of carrying on as me, I want to be what you need. Rather than loving and appreciating what accepted me, I became what I despised. Wait, these aren't the right eyes. Mr. Lego piece, this figment doesn't see you came equipped with the tools for me just to be saved. It feels right when those grays and sapphires tell me the ice can be shaved. Both hands extend to be enveloped in their embrace. Oh no, everything is not as warm as those safe sapphires. By Blue Dream, you'll be treasure kept in a chest of the man in the moon. Make it all better. Help. This little paper made me see this hell I'm living in. It's all wrong. Everyone just wants to know what's going on. The darkness inhaled the fresh smoke my lungs ignited. Loneliness. I don't want to be alone. Please come back. It's scarier than the monsters that escape from my closet into my mind. Just breathe and ground yourself once again. Don't worry, I'll make it out alive. I'm not as delicate being anymore. It's okay, sweet child of energy. You made it out alive. Okay. This one is called Here because I'm unoriginal with title ideas. So, old souls flashing through the sky, a meteor shower of beings of lives. That little girl watching, I wish to hold her hand. Tell her you are love, and love is you. What they said and did was not your fault. She'll point and wish to be them, those sitting in the sky, glistening that twinkle in her night. Oh, sweet seed, you already shine so bright. You're the only one who dulls your light. Forgive yourself, little one. It's okay to do so. Let tears flow without your ego. Baby girl, understand, you have done no wrong. I'm here to hear. To listen to your ongoing off-topic stories, impromptu opera concerts. Dance to the heart's desire. It's beautiful how you feel your soul blend with the wind so harmoniously. No matter what happens on the outside, you are safe. I'll stand strong for you, love you, and stand up for you. Harmful words and actions will no longer affect. Do you know why? Using all energy and might, a nod of no appears. Because I'm here. Here to hear when a boy has made you fall in love and then break your heart. To listen to your broken words when your mind beats yourself up and you don't know how to stop it. I will not help you in bruising your insides for the sake to stay numb. Oh, you kind, silly soul, I love you. I love you with the energy and might that you put into a nod. I love you with the increasingly effort put into when you sing and dance a song. I'm here to hear, but so much more along with it. We can face your fears. Like the chef you act as to entertain while cooking, the spy who knows every crack and code and person in a circle. Like knight in shining armors, we are saving the princess, and awesomely befriending them instead of slaying Sir Dragon. When you think you're alone and thoughts are cruel, just remember, I'm here for you.
I love your metaphors and getting more and more powerful. Did you know? You are. That's awesome. Now we have Richard Nelson.
Thank you, Amy. Good afternoon to y'all. Kadisha, I was imported from California. I lived in LA and Anaheim and Chico. I taught school in South Central LA right after the mid-60s, right after the first riots in Watts. It was really quite a time. So, yeah. Thank you for what you said about wood, by the way. I taught a lot about wood in school and when I was teaching LA, and I write about trees and all. I love it too, so thanks. Anyway, I would like to read 2 poems, and before I do, I'd like to mention that this Thursday evening at Scarlett Bennett Center, that I'll be the featured poet there, and we so invite you to come. If you haven't been there before, it's adjacent to Lipscomb University on 18th Avenue South, 1027 18th Avenue South.
Vanderbilt?
So, is it Vanderbilt?
Yeah.
Like I said, Vanderbilt. I hope I can find where I should be. I've been there many times. One of them, their places anyway.
It's behind San Antonio Cocoa Company, like 2 blocks.
Yeah, one of those things, yeah. We've heard a lot of topics this afternoon already, and I would like to read 2 poems, one from Trinidad and Tobago. We have some friends from India who grew up in Trinidad, and they asked us to go home with them to visit some of their family for 2 weeks, and incredible it was. From Trinidad, there you can see across the water to see Venezuela, and we can see Venezuela sticking out there, and then we went to, this is about Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago are, a unit. They're 2 islands, but they're a unit. So, when I got up one morning, we planned to have some wonderful things, but it turned out it was storming, so I made this observation. Bird's eye view of Tobago. Torrential rains visiting the palms outside our window last night. Surprisingly, a pleasant thing, caressing our rest to seem even more restful. This morning, the sun sleeping in a bit, seeming to think it is a good idea after the long night. The day drifting forward in a lovely discomfort. Touring plans now changed. Down to the sea alone I go, just a brief jaunt from our lazy room. My shoes following my poetic imagination to the little shop by this morning's lonely beach. Under thatched roof, I dream with strong coffee and a currant roll in hand. Plans dashed by changing weather. By weather, the better becoming. Tobago's nature welcoming me like Van Gogh has never done. Pelicans by the dozen, roaming the airs above their native waters, like capitalists, taking a risk, diving like kamikaze pilots into the shallows and unknowns. Seagulls, like socialists, circling the risk takers to retrieve and share the readied spoils. The skies being full of creatures loving to live and working to survive, each creature for himself, yet part of a larger, wonderful harmony. Motions of creatures, and two lads working nylon fishing nets, casting them into the tide. A functioning cottage amid seas, disturbed under skies annoyed. To me, a delightful observation and participation in another world. To them, an exercise of survival for one more day's satisfaction. This, the second one I wrote when I was in Kenya. I was leading a leadership conference there for an event, and I was at a congregation gathering on the church that Sunday morning, and I saw a little sight there that really touched me so much. You know, you never know what a value is until you remember it. You know, when it becomes a memory, then you know it was valuable. And these two events I shared were really are memories to me. I call this one Praying and Dancing and Mama's Shoes. My mind is still as I enjoy these dear believers, enriched by grace, made sweet by love in this lovely place. Songs resound and prayers arise. My heart is freshly filled as I move here in Kenya to gaze upon Jesus' face. Is it possible? At last, I'm in Africa with my fellow believers, reflecting with them that the truth of God is truly true. Soon, I find myself weeping as I watch a little child. She's praying and dancing in her mama's shoes. About 2 years old, but less than 3, she clearly knows my Lord and has touched the meeting's flow. The sight of watching her, so intense. I just can't fathom that this sapling can truly know, can truly sense her Godward passion, or realize her upward glow upon her precious little face. Her countenance, feelings portrayed of holy desire, of authentic prayers as a child, surely reaching to a higher place. Later now, I still see her, still dancing, still praying on bended knee with others, still waltzing up and down the aisles. I still see her in unison with others of impassioned prayers, heartfelt songs, and delightful smiles. I see those precious little dark feet and her mama's big old white shoes, a picture alive in me of that tiny little girl, just like mama, touched by God and her passionate moves. I still see her in those tiny little feet, worshiping God with older girls. Alongside kneels her mama too. But most of all, I still see this little child, still praying, still dancing in her mama's big old shoes.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Now we have Kaylee Alton.
Thank you. I also am from California. I wasn't going to mention that. I actually am from Torrance, so I just moved here a month ago. I traditionally perform spoken word, so that's what this piece is. And I, in the past, have performed for audiences of not poets. So if you are in this room and do not feel like you are a poet or have not ever written a piece of poetry or performed one, this piece is for you to encourage you that your story is important. And for those of you that are poets and tend to lean towards themes that don't involve yourself because it's maybe more comfortable or more safe, this is also for you. The feeling of loneliness as you walk down a crowded street. The hateful or discouraging phrase stuck in your head on repeat. The ache of sent prayers that seem to have bounced off the ceiling, and the judgmental glares that leave your self-esteem reeling. The sigh of a dream that seemed to have slipped through the grate, and the forced apology that came a little too late. These are the pains of our society today. The soreness and stabs that plague a people who always need more. I'm not saying they're unimportant or unworthy. In fact, they are quite the opposite. Who are we to judge the story of another? Have we felt their pain, carried their burdens, lived with their regret? No. We only walk in our own shoes. We trample around without knowing whose land we are trespassing, pains we are rehashing, or whose personal traits we are ignorantly bashing. I grew up thinking that my story was irrelevant. My pains only scratches, my dreams only wisps. I had heard of the famines and plagues, the orphans and widows. I'd heard of the poverty and crime, the addiction and jail time. I'd even heard of their rescues and came to the conclusion that my pain was invalid. Unless I was beat down, shot up, or locked up, my problems weren't real. My life was a dream, so I better deal and ignore the aches I incessantly feel because I'm not an orphan. I'm not homeless. I've never been starving. I haven't stared cancer in the face or bowed down to another in disgrace. I don't live in a war-ridden place or suffer hatred against my race. I don't live with a disease that's an unsolved case, and I wonder if you don't either. I wonder if you cannot fully relate to each pain that someone is trying to communicate. None of us gets the prize for most misfortune, most suffering, most distortion of joy, and why would we want it? Just because we are not in newsworthy pain does not mean we're unworthy of comfort to obtain. Our stories shape us like a rough potter's pans, putting dents where others are smoothed over and grand, and those scratches are as precious as gold, as defining as ink. They are the long-awaited answers that should make us rethink our view of pain, our definition of bad, and ultimately recalibrate our capacity for love. This perspective should spread like the light of the dawn, warming the sleepers left in the dark and alone. Our heads should be lifted as the sun breaks through the trees and give us a heart that actually sees, eyes that look past the muck and the mire to see the beauty in others as their all-consuming fire. Not to see their scars as pale bruises that cry out, "I'm wounded," but to see them as tattoos that mark where Jesus has been moving, their life reconstituted, their identity rerooted. And this is also your chance to open, hoping someone will listen. Just as others' lives are precious and good, you are valued and have a story that should be shouted, be whispered, be shared through the tears, be proclaimed and rooted, be honored with cheers. Your story should be told to those that you love. Your story should be told to those that love you. Because maybe you were thrown, beat, broken, and your name tag reads abused. But maybe the pain was just as deep, but feeling unworthy doesn't make headline news. A magical thing will happen when those words leave the tongue and land on the ears of a loving and listening one. Your heart will begin moving. Your brain will start to function. Your lungs will pump oxygen no longer in dysfunction, and you will start living, start healing. You will start life not contained by the ceiling. Your story is as valuable as each breath you take. And when our stories unfold, a kaleidoscopic composite is what we make. And this synthesis will bring healing to the broken, love to the lost, and will raise the dead to life.
That was beautiful. Thank you. So passionate. Yay. And now we have Christine Hall as a dear friend, and also, like I said, she did the formatting for the book, and she's a host of Poetry in the Brew, and many, many other things. Are you ready? Okay, cool.
Thank you, Amy. It's a really lovely place, and I'm enjoy hearing from you all and the emotions we've traveled today. Thank you. I love California. I lived there just for a little bit. It totally kicked my ass. I'm back here now. Let's see. This is a book of poems I wrote when I was under 30. Just one of these. Here we go. Circuit. Progress can be stopped in its tracks. One finger outstretched, not pressing forward, but holding back. All that strength in digits, reduced to a point where leaning in can finally relax our stiffened backs. Heads slumping toward destination, confused with the spifflicated sanctity of time and place, crowded out by cowing lunatics, slurring assertions of self-defense, contradictions amidst these rows of disheveled ties and tents, staked to a single point where there should be many, all too intense. The fluidity of motion stagnating upon impact, pausing, flood, building up and recoiling, pockets of pressure in your biceps. Down the line, heavy metal rusts, heaped in collapse. Bruises bring capillaries back to life. Forgotten hearts return with vengeance. The train comes in again, and suited passengers crawl politely down my arm. This time there will be no disruption. If we crept so carefully from the start, we might have kept a sense of direction. Thank you. These next three are from my Instagram account, Studio 66 Nashville, which is also the name of a gallery that Bart and I have downtown. So if you're ever out for art crawl, come see us upstairs in the arcade, Studio 66. Here we go. When I said I would do it with or without you, I preferred with. I'm not superstitious. My hair is. This isn't about me. I don't write confessional poems. I am you. When I say something to you, I'm talking to myself. Consider internet wisdom, life hacks. The bottom of a banana is actually the top. Monkeys discovered this, or rather never forgot. Consider monkey wisdom. Smart monkeys, natural instinct, intelligent life. Life is intelligent. Life is efficient. During the 80s, baboons in Kenya developed a peaceful matriarchy. After the most aggressive males died from bovine tuberculosis, they contracted foraging in an open garbage pit. See also, a banana naturally splits into 3 segments. I discovered this in the 80s and finally feel legit. Consider playing with foods. I am Mother Earth incarnate. What? You think I am stardust? This Mother Earth knows best. She is the rock that tumbles and gathers yet, and I eat the moss that grows on her back. Drink my mother's milk. It is good. Let stars be powdered and reconstituted for nourishment. Let the intimate connection flood you with blush. Let the embarrassment burn your eyes, a stinging white sparkle. Nurse the contented, uncomfortable, sublime. Keep your mouth cool. Let the stars roll. Let their eyes roll against a sky that is always night. Thank you. I'm going to do one of my pieces from the book that I've got printed out. Love poem number 42. It's embarrassing. I've never read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, though I'm fond of saying 42 is the meaning of life, if not Monty Python. My boyfriend was 42 when I met him. And love is the meaning of life, or the main plot point in mine. Again, embarrassing. What's more embarrassing is how much I love dreaming. My kindergarten teacher called me a space cadet. That was the year my boyfriend graduated. I watched Sesame Street on a 13-inch black and white TV, and I learned you can get anything you want at Mr. Hooper's store, which was right next door to the laundromat where it all came out in the wash, and everyone went home happy, no matter the color of their skin or feathers. In my dreams, I have blue skin, and I'm from Arcturus. We waltz weightless on the edge of Hooper's nebula, and Mr. Hooper tells me what goes out with Hooper's sheets comes in with Hooper's sheets. It's messy business creating and incarnating, taking turns at the wheel of this time machine. In the grand scheme, 13 years is almost nothing. Here on Earth, the disparity is more challenging. He's not up on modern communication skills or social networking. Sometimes I turn out his music selection, and his taste in kitsch doesn't necessarily match my vision. When we dance, I can't always follow his lead, but he holds me like he did once upon a dream. Memory fluxes through eons to the birth of the universe even. It's Mr. Hooper's day off. The sheets are dirty. We're every great love who's ever been and those who have yet to exist. He cuts his hair on the equinox, which is about how often I shave my legs. We both did that today. Happy equinox. Did I travel through all the time and space for this? Yes. I may be crazy and cheesy for saying, at least I'm crazy in love. It's true, our atoms were dancing from the start. And it's true what they say about the bang. Yeah, what am I on time? I timed it out. It was like 13. Okay, cool. All right. Calvary. 4 men on top of a building. I was one of them, watching from above, watching the man I was pushed 2 off in quick succession. Before the other noticed, they fell towards the ground, clouded in mist or distance, and the 3rd man turned as I approached him, about to push again. They were bad dudes, I could tell it. Then he asked, would I be his mentor? A bad man in Mexico. I followed him, stole his cash, laptop, a piece of magical technology, had to hop a plane in his name and needed protection from him, heading me off at the airport. So I visited a witch doctor, and she did her business without requesting payment. We were in cahoots, yet I spread out all my pendants and searched for one to give her, a broken horse head, an owl missing a rhinestone eye, none of them sufficient as the payment that wasn't requested. I visited her granddaughter tucked into bed, who was also my son. She said they'd kill her in the night. I wasn't so certain. She was my long-lost friend, and she wondered if it was too late to get back with her husband, and I answered, you can have whatever you choose, like always. Her eyes could have rolled. Instead, they flashed, and I quoted Caroline, you are the only one here. Do you understand what that means? We did, and cried at the magnitude of our freedom and loneliness. The wallet was made of fine upholstery leather, styled to fit a checkbook, and both pockets full of $1, $20, $100, and $120 bills. Surely some of them were marked.
Okay.
Looks like I have 2 left. Here we go. This is brand new. I sent it to the one that scares you, right? Okay, here we go. First, let me tell you, he is a white man. Before that, before I thought about him being white, before I thought about whether I have the right to tell his story, which is really only the story of how he touched me or didn't touch me, he lay in my bed. He was drunk. He was always drunk before. He touched me, but he didn't want me to touch him. He liked my husband. and it didn't matter to him. The papers were already served. He touched me, and he said, "You're so pretty." He said it again. He was drunk. He prided himself on being functional, but only to a point. Let me then tell you, he is an artist. But I never thought of him being white before, only thought of him as a good man, a good artist, a good friend to my husband. And now I think of him as a white man, but only in terms of whether my thoughts of him are well invested when he is so well represented. But he is a good man, and I have never thought of him as white before, nor have I ever been stingy with my heart, nor my thoughts and prayers, which are so plentiful a resource as to be worthless in some markets. Surely I, a white woman, whose stores are full for the picking of such concerns, can spare a trifle for him, but who could care less if I didn't? Thank you. This is my last one. It's a bit of an opus. Hurricane Joan. White trash hurricane rips through the south. What's her ungodly face? Amanda Palmer says it's her neighbor, friend, foe, Joan Jones, but I doubt it. That's my only doubt now. I dated a Jones. He never let me forget. I couldn't keep up with his eyes reaching back, sharp cue of wet ball contact, white flecked in yellow, a jerking sour milk splash onto the rhythm of his shake, an arrhythmic quake. It doesn't come coherent or flower-scented. It can smell of green and white. This branch reverential, this referential, met in the crook of an elbow, clapped to a rhythm that wheedles through the echoes of her refrain. Did we swim on that day? Did we have crepes? Did we need a chaperone then? If I did not fall asleep in class, I passed notes at the back. I felt like swarming you, like a cat, rubbing on you in an authoritative manner, a Cheshire toying with its metaphysical dinner, entitled elitist nitwits, smugly eating their own asses, Ouroboros poets, modern archaeologists sifting through gravel at rest stops, the dad across the crosswalk with his coffee to go and baby pack, hair tame, jacket puffed, marshmallow bird of prey hovering over its young, loving it with the same mouth it spits death with, the stitched up, buttoned up, tied on detachment, the attachment parenting conflict. I became aware of her preternaturally straight nose. My entire life has been a come to Jesus moment. There must be wheat amidst the chaff, a grain of wisdom or pearl of integrity, shock of hair out of place, a kernel of truth stuck in some truth. Tooth? Don't worry, cover it up with a butt cape. In this age of the tall skinny, my tenuous euphoria, mutable as lenticular glimpses, stores of endorphins to plunder, and the plunge, the violent sad, the dismissive swirl, the swept up in the blink of an eye, the ransacked for fashionable parts to commodify, out of the cult and into the cauldron. What is the exhibitionist to do but be the exhibition? Exhibit A, a piece of poor white trash. Exhibit B, an ugly old fat witch dyke. Exhibit C, coffee stains can be art. See, I purchased 2 to frame. Plastic bags can engage in ballet. Do they consent to the recording by putting themselves on display? With no nervous system or one that looks different, how can we be sure they feel pain? The value of the life measured in the weight of the sacrifice. A bag is not a useful instrument for the measuring. A mask is not a useful sin, but for concealing sin. Barbies come in plastic coffins, glasses not childproof, sleeping Snow White beauties, dollhouse pink paint someone ashed in then stirred, trying to hide the specks. These girls today have grit and weaponized baggage. The emotional kind you don't want to set down because you might need to reference that shit, because you might need to wield it. Gift horse. No ma'am. Look. See? I believe what Joan of Arc said. The Ark of the Covenant's contents, the Ark of a rainbow's christening, never again. Love the natural state of being. Strike that is, strike that was, excise that will be. Look, See, the Jews and Christians. Are there any Muslims left? See here, the Muslims. Brothers and sisters in God. God? Yes, God. I believe in God, only I spell it nature, a white architect said. Well, I believe a white man in office, in the sky, or pulpit when he says, this is how to read, this is how to pray, on knee, less than, never worthy. I do not hate wooden spoons or hairbrushes. I do not hate the belt. When he takes it off, the sound turns me on. He never spanks the rhythm into me anymore. Never worthy. Not on my birthday. We never counted or kept up. We do not celebrate ourselves. There is no honor in that. We are lowly. We kneel. And all that spills from our tongues is fire for him. All that anoints his feet is our air conditioner. All that wipes our tears is nature. Is it first nature or second? Is it grace or surrender? Is the war over yet? Flow with grace. If you are going to get swept away, delve into the leaking elbows. Uncover where it connects. Build for the inevitable destruction. Flow with grace if you are to be swept.
Brilliant, genius, surreal, amazing. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. First of all, does anyone else want to read? Okay. Okay. Just checking. Okay, I'm going to read the second one here. That is Warm Moon. Thank you. And I wrote this in the spring on the Warm Moon. The moon is full, last one before spring comes, and the world is full of burgeoning water, lush from rain and now pulled to the moon, daffodils, lilies, foxglove return. Not everything comes back. Bless the ones that have. People go crazy on a full moon, especially those in late summer, breaking things, people, windows. Me, I'm half crazy most days, so yesterday I had insights. Crazy for me is a joke I tell myself, knowing how random memories, flashbacks, alters come up and leave as fast as seconds on the clock. Like some sort of modern film editing, sharp seconds of anything mind or soul or heart see sense in throwing up for me to analyze, gaze, observe. A full moon is an aphrodisiac. My eyes more full as well. Intense everything all day long. All night dreaming magical things I can't remember, but wonder. The pull of the moon on waves of me, pulling me up and out. Such as I am, a voice says. Critical thought never seems to stop. But part of me knows safety, rippling up where critics have no power. Joy to see them rise, old young fairies inside. Bittersweet to feel them wash up through me, but not stay. I believe in fairies. Do you? Does the moon pull you too? And how? Other planets revolving in orbit. What do they know of our moon? Jupiter, Demeter, Apollo, Saturn. They rule us as gods do, imperfect, raw power, making mistakes nature makes, happy accidents, evolution in its course. Our moon is a worm moon. How the worms writhe and dance in soil, earth itself. How seeds will grow best in nature, each knowing how to be a plant, a tree, wildflower, cultivated delights, all held in the magical form of seed. What seed was I? Am I? What intrinsic function is forming deep within me to grow forward, my gut instinct knowing? I follow signals and codes, watch the movie of me with fascination, just as in the garden. The moon, planets, sun pull us all. Facts and fictions rule the day, but we are pulled along anyway. Do we honor the system, solar system, ignore its higher powers all this time instead, for gods that move us according to human will, mythology, or simply delight in Earth's Epicurean pleasures? They try to kill her. We fight. She renews herself daily like our very body's cells, seeds. She will survive. The planets reach us in ways that other beings do not. Respect, cherish, feel the moon waves, and delight, wonder, bittersweet. So you sure nobody else wants to come back here and get on the mic? Open mic. Okay. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Christine, for featuring everything. It's available on Amazon. I have some cards up here. My website is www.amyjackson.cc, and it's on there. You can get it for $10. Thank you so much for being here.
Mention what benefits.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is the important part.
Oh my God. Okay. 80% of the proceeds go to Girls Right Nashville, and they help children, well, youth, ladies, learn how to compose and record music, and it's a great way for them to express themselves. So it's going to benefit them 80%. So. Thank you. And next time our feature will be Chance Chambers on October 27th. So hope you can join us again. Thank you so much.
Too cool.